Battery Bill. Battery Bill. For cameras, computers, cars, or scooters. For trucks, boats, jet skis, remotes. Battery Bill. Battery Bill.
Hey everybody, it's ESPN Fan Friday Talk Story, and this week we have someone from the women's soccer team because I tell you what, it's getting to crunch time. It's almost coming toward the end of the season with women's soccer and the Big West Conference, and Hawaii doing pretty good this year. They just came back from the road trip, and so coming into a home game this coming Sunday. So a lot of exciting stuff happening with women's soccer. So joining me today is Krista Peterson from the University of Hawaii women's soccer team. First of all, Krista, thanks so much for taking the time to be with us.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. Super stoked to talk story.
You know, before we get into all the soccer goodies, you guys just came back from a road trip, right? And I mean, it didn't turn out totally the way you guys wanted it, but one of the things I always ask about players, like especially when they become a senior and the college career is about to end, what's the highlight, what's the best part of being a student athlete? And I will say the road trips. Would that be for you as well, one of the more fun kind of part about being a student athlete?
Yeah, I would 100% agree with that. For me, even before you asked, I was thinking in my head, road trip stuff. Just because it's such a great opportunity just to get away and spend genuine time with your teammates. And with the group of girls we have this year, it's just so much incredible fun. It's just whether it's spending time in study hall together or playing games. We always bring cards, or I bring Catan, and me and some of my teammates will play that, which is a super complicated board game, but so much fun. Or even just like walking to coffee shops in the morning, just really value that time with my teammates. And it's tons of fun.
And that's interesting you bring that up, because some people say, like, of course, there's challenges with, for all University of Hawaii teams, it's a challenge to go on the road, right? Because of the distance, the long airtime, the jet lag, so forth and so on. But I've heard, and something what you just alluded to, there's, in a way, a lot of distractions are taken away because it's just you guys together. You're not going to class per se, and then you have all that other stuff. I mean, you have to do your study hall. There's the academic part, but it's a little bit less distracting. Would that be an appropriate way to put it?
Yeah, I would think so. Just because whenever we're there, we have pretty set routine. We wake up, eat breakfast, go get our morning coffee, study hall, film, practice, eat, repeat. So we kind of don't have those like outside stressors to worry about, really. It's just kind of us spending good time with each other, having fun, and then playing some soccer.
Okay, so how old were you when you first started playing?
I was 3 years old, but I absolutely hated soccer when I first started playing it. I would step onto the field and cry my eyes out. My mom was one of my first coaches, and I just remember her telling me, like, she would be coaching and she'd be like, "Where's Krista?" And I would ran to the bench, would sit down on there. I'd pick grass. I would chase butterflies, like anything besides soccer, you name it. And one day it just kind of, I don't know, I guess I had a good game around the age of 5 and scored some goals. And I was like, oh, this isn't that bad. And stuck with it ever since.
Wow, so it took that's a long time, to 2 years from hating it this is not bad.
I know. I like playing other sports like t-ball. I love t-ball for some reason. Like soccer just wasn't it for me. And my parents made me stick it out. They're pretty big on commitments, and they're like, well, we signed you up and you're not quitting. So kind of just listen to my parents.
By the way, as you got older, so that's, through elementary school, like you said, t-ball, but let's say like from upper elementary, middle, and maybe into high school, were you playing other sports semi-consistently? And if so, then at what point did you say, I've got to focus on soccer?
Yeah, so growing up, I played basketball, I ran track, and I did cross country in addition to soccer, all the way up until like middle school. Even high school, my freshman year of high school, I ran track while I was playing soccer, but kind of decided to focus directly on soccer whenever I got an opportunity to go play so I'm from San Antonio, and I got an opportunity to play for this club team in Houston. But in order to go play for them, I had to move there, which it's 3 hours from home. So I lived with a host family my sophomore, junior, and senior year of high school to pursue soccer. So I kind of just packed up my bags, moved with that host family, and just it was strictly soccer from there. Devoted all my time to it because I just fell in love with the game and decided that's what I wanted to pursue.
Gee, I can't imagine. Basically, you're 14, 15 years old and you're actually living away from home. Granted, a host family, but still, you had to move, relocate. What was that? Was that first year a little challenging, or was it no problem?
Yeah, so at first it was a little bit of a struggle. I was 15 years old and, it was just me and my host family. I didn't have like a car or anything. I didn't really know any of the kids I went to school with. It was kind of like a little reset on my life because I grew up in a small town, knew everyone, and then I just all of a sudden went to this high school with almost 1,400 kids in my class alone. So it was definitely a big adjustment for me at first, but I feel like it kind of taught me to mature a little quickly. So when I hit freshman year of college, it was like, oh, I've already been through this. So a little blessing in disguise going through those troubles at first.
Now, tell me a little bit more about San Antonio, your hometown. Now, someone from Hawaii like me, we can only say, oh, the Alamo. But I know there's way more to that than a sports fan will say, oh, the Spurs. What beyond the Alamo and the Spurs, what more can you tell me about your hometown?
Oh, yeah, pretty summed up right there. No, I'm kidding. But so I'm actually from a small town, like 20 miles west of San Antonio, but no one knows where Castro, Texas is. But San Antonio is a great place to be. Just for me, like it's rich in Hispanic culture, and my family, I come from like Hispanic heritage, my mom's side of the family. So it's just really nice whenever events like Fiesta come around, which just kind of celebrates Hispanic heritage. And also the Riverwalk is a big attraction there. It's basically the river flows through like the middle of the city, and there's a bunch of restaurants, like all this fun stuff to do along the river. So love being able to go cruise around there with my family or friends and stuff. It's especially so much fun around like Christmas time because they set up lights on like all of the trees, and it's gorgeous. Like I'd recommend going there. It's a fun place to be.
Oh, it definitely sounds like it. Yeah. Now, interestingly enough, I always find the stories are very different and interesting. So at some point, you're playing now high school ball and club ball in Houston. When were you starting to get recruited?
So I got offers. I actually committed to play soccer at NC State my sophomore year of high school. Wow. So I was only living in Houston for probably like 3 months. And they have these big showcases for the club I was playing for. Like our league was called the Development Academy, and it was run by the United States Soccer Federation. And one of the first big showcases we had of the year, we were in Orlando, Florida, I believe. And we just had hundreds of coaches at all of our games. And after that weekend and series of games, I just started having coaches reach out to me. I actually committed like a month later maybe to NC State, and I spent my first year of school there.
And then what happened after that to suddenly lead you here?
So I got there and I tore my meniscus my first semester there. So was kind of battling with an injury, and then come around the end of that spring semester that I was there. Oh, I left this out. I graduated high school a semester early in order to go and start training with NC State in the spring.
Wow.
And during that spring, that's when COVID-19 first hit. So I had to pack up my bags and go home early. And then just the rest of that fall, like once the next fall came around, things still weren't back into the normal routine. And I just think that my opportunity to play kind of lessened while I battled injuries. And so I entered the transfer portal, and here I am, and it's one of the best things that's ever happened to me.
How is the meniscus, by the way?
It's great. So, yeah, weirdly enough, I tore my ACL in high school, but not the meniscus. So, meniscus just decided to go a little later on, I guess. But it's been great.
Well, I mean, obviously, great to have. And by the way, I'm going to ask you some very interesting soccer questions because I told you before we got on here that I'm the PA announcer for women's soccer. And really, the first time I watched soccer live was when I first did a PA. So can you imagine? Talk about a rookie. I didn't know really what I was
That's
talking
incredible.
about. Yep. But so I got some soccer stuff. But I want to ask you this too. So you had this young transition in early high school, going from San Antonio, moving to Houston. You had the transition then from Houston or high school going into college in Raleigh, North Carolina. And then you had another transition coming. Which was the toughest transition? And you're dealing with COVID and pandemic in between. Which one was the toughest for you?
You know, I feel like the toughest was probably transitioning from San Antonio to Houston. I'm not going to lie. I mean, just being that young, going off on my own was definitely hard for me. I remember just calling my mom like every single day. You know, it's basically what freshmen in college normally experience. I just experienced it a little bit earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, too, coming to Hawaii during the midst of the pandemic wasn't easy, especially because we had limited access to the facilities, you know, weren't able to practice all that much. And I came here without ever being to Hawaii. Like my first time coming here was me moving here. So
Wow.
it was definitely, you know, it was different, but a good different.
So academically, this is your third year. You're a
Yes.
junior, but athletic eligibility wise, you're a sophomore.
Exactly.
Okay, so is a COVID year still count in your eligibility? Like, did you get an extra one?
So my class is like the last year that gets like the additional year from COVID. So I do intend on taking that. God willing, I'm able to. So that would be awesome.
So what's your major?
Right now, I am business entrepreneurship, but I am big into like videography and photography, kind of hoping to one day kind of contract myself out to shoot for like private businesses, or who knows, even do stuff like sports videography. That would be sick.
UH athletics department would love to hear about your possible interest in
Yeah,
that.
for sure. I got
sure.
the right ends. I got the right ends for sure.
Oh yeah. Okay. I gotta ask you some soccer. And you know what
Okay.
the thing about when I first watched you guys play, which was last season, I was impressed with how physical the game is when you watch it live. It doesn't, when you watch soccer on TV, like if you watch, you know, Olympics or whatever, and I'm a big Olympic fan, or, you know, World Cup stuff. I mean, that is a high level of soccer, but even then, the physical element, because when you watch it live, you can see the whole field, and you can see the physical impact, especially when on the throw-ins. Like a lot of times, I mean, it's converging of bodies or those penalty kicks that's going right in front of the goal. I mean, I've heard some of those impacts, and all the way up in the press box, I can hear it.
It's insane. My body definitely feels it the next day. It's a dogfight out there for sure. We get beat up.
And the other thing I was very impressed is, which I kind of knew, but then you see it, because the soccer field is bigger than a football field, right?
It's huge.
And so the conditioning that you guys have, I mean, I'll put water polo players kind of up there in terms of conditioning, because you're not touching ground and you're constantly.
Oh, absolutely. What they do, I could never. Never.
Right. But I'm going to put soccer right there in terms of the type of conditioning that you guys got to have to be able to. You're constantly running, chasing, changing speeds, and it's going back, then it's going here, then it's going there. I mean, the amount of running you guys must have to do is just insane.
Yeah, it's pretty taxing on the body, but it's what we signed up for. So, I mean, it's fun in a weird way.
Okay, so what's your position?
I am a center forward.
Okay, where?
So I play the number 9. So we normally have 4 defenders in the back, and then we have 3 midfielders, and then we have 3 up top that are on the front line that kind of try to score goals, essentially.
Okay.
And I'm the one in the middle.
That middle group?
Yep.
So
I'm like in the middle on the forward line, if that makes sense.
Okay, so there's 4 defenders, 3 middle, and
midfielders.
Then 3 midfielders, and 3 forwards, are they called?
Yes, 3 forwards.
Okay. Now, are you guys, I'm thinking like hockey, like there's a right wing, there's a left wing. So
yeah,
if you're on one
them
side,
that sometimes too.
are you guys like, as far as strategy wise, and when the ball is going Do you guys go into different areas of the field, or you kind of generally stay like right, center, left? How does that
I
work?
mean, it just kind of depends. I feel like since our front three have like a pretty good connection, us three interchange a lot during the games, but generally like you stay in your respective position. But it mixes around a lot. Like sometimes we'll do overlapping runs for each other. Someone will come inside, I'll go outside.
What is kind of like, you think about like, let's say basketball, right? Like
Okay.
different positions, there's different skill sets or size or body types that is
Yeah.
ideal. Obviously, the center, you want them to be taller and more physical. The guards are smaller, quicker ball.
Yeah.
In soccer, like, is there some kind of skill set that makes you more ideal for the defender or the midfielder or the forward, that kind of thing?
Yeah, I would say like for our defenders, you got to be able to put in tackles and like win the ball whenever people are coming at you. For me personally, that is not my strong suit, so that's why they're like put her on the front line. But our midfield is normally like the really creative players who make the play happen. They have really good vision, are able to see things that a lot of other players aren't. So just very high soccer IQ. And front line, just most of the time it's like technical players or people just with crossing and finishing abilities. I mean, but it depends on the team and what like style of play you have. Like I know some teams like really want like their fastest girls in the back or vice versa. So it just really depends.
Is height a factor?
Ideally, but I'm 5'2", so
You're gonna say no.
no, like size doesn't matter. I mean, most of the time, like your center backs are going to be some of your taller girls. I feel like with women's soccer, it just varies so much. I mean, I look at some teams and I'm like, oh, like their center forward is like the tallest person on the field, and I'm like, I'm the shortest person on the field. So I really don't think that it matters as much. What mostly matters is kind of just like how hard you work in there and just like how disruptive you can be for the other team.
I don't, again, I've never played soccer, so I'm learning
Okay.
pretty much as you're telling me. But
Uh-huh.
I always tend to think like when women play sports, like guys when they play sports, there's always ego that gets in the
Mm-hmm.
way, the trash talking, I'm a badass, and that kind of
Okay.
attitude. I mean, everyone's competitive, but that male ego sometimes just gets in the way, and then you see the unsportsmanlike stuff, right? That happens.
Yeah.
But is there that kind of stuff in soccer? Like, is there the trash talk?
Absolutely.
Is there
Yeah.
as you're running by an opponent, a little elbow, like the last time you headbutted
Oh.
me, a little bit of that going back?
There will be girls that'll try to discreetly pull your hair or cuss you out, and I'm like you're in my way. It's not my fault. Like the amount of times I've been cussed at in a game whenever I'm just trying to do my job, like I'm like whatever. So it still exists for girls. I think they're just a little more sly about it.
More sly.
Yeah, I guess that's a good way to put it.
Wait, I mean, but do you dish it back out if they dish it to you?
Sometimes I slip up. I'm not gonna lie. Like if someone calls me the B word, I'm not gonna just sit there and say nothing.
And that leads me to this. So, what are the penalties that are an official gives? Like, is there like two levels of it or something like
Yeah,
that?
so like sometimes like they'll just call a foul and nothing will happen, or like if a foul is bad enough, it's just kind of dependent on the referee. Like you'll get a yellow card, which is a warning. 2 yellow cards in one game is a red card, meaning you get kicked out of the game. And I think the way that it works for the Big West is if you get 5 yellow cards total across like all of your conference game, then I think that could count as a red card as well. And you would have to sit
Wow.
out the next game. Yeah. So you not only miss the remainder of that game, but you miss the next game.
Ooh. Okay, I've seen the
Yeah.
home games. I don't. I think there was one game where one of your teammates got a yellow card, but is there anybody
Yeah.
close to the 5?
No, the most we have is 2. Like a decent amount of us have 1. I think that we have like maybe 7 total. I'm not too sure.
Oh, so
But
who is the enforcer that has 2 yellow cards? Who is that bully?
Freshman Zoe Park. Yep.
You're kidding.
You're gonna have to watch out after that one.
Oh my gosh. Okay, can you tell me what offsides is?
Yeah. So basically, there's the defensive line for the other team. And if, say, one of my players has the ball and they're trying to play me, if I am behind them closer to their goal and my teammate passes me the ball, like with them still in front of me, then I'm offsides, if that makes sense. The ball has to be played and then you run past their defensive line. Because if you're still standing behind them, then that's what it's considered. If that makes sense. I'm trying my best.
Yeah, no. I get that. That rule kind of sucks though, right? Because let's say
Yeah, you can't just camp out.
or you can't just be quick and one of your teammates is darting down and you can just pass it, and just if they're slow, they're slow, right?
Yeah. So it's based off of like the release of the ball. So if you're standing like on sides before the ball is played and then the ball releases from their foot, then you can run past them. And even if you beat them to the ball, then you're still on sides. But with our team, we have crazy fast forwards like Kelsey Sumida and Amber Gilbert who get called off sides even when they're not. So sometimes it's just hit or miss.
And that's the other thing. It's like there are times when obviously if the ball's away on the opposite side of the field, you're jogging and kind of retreating or moving forward or, moving, shifting and stuff. But suddenly that kick comes that way and the change of speeds that you guys employ. I mean, next thing you know, you guys are, to sprinting to where the ball is because like you said, you're leading and you got to chase that ball down, but it's a sudden dead sprint. I mean, that's another part where I'm very impressed with the change of speeds, the acceleration, but the quickness that you guys as soccer players are able to. First of all, the fact that you can't use your hands would frustrate the heck out of me, but you can do all that kind of speed, agility, change of direction with only your feet. I mean, and the ball. I mean, that to me, just the skill of soccer is very impressive.
Yeah, it's something. I mean, it's probably good that we can't use our hands because half of us are super uncoordinated with our hands besides our goalkeeper. So I'm not complaining. What's
the best thing that you have found that, like if your friends tell you, hey, what do you like about Honolulu or the state of Hawaii? What is it that you tell them? Say, if you're going to come visit me, we're going to do this.
Well, the food is incredible. But also if someone's visiting me, I'm for sure going to take them out west because the west side beaches are the best. But also the culture out here, I would say, I feel like I'm very fortunate to have surrounded myself with a lot of people that are from here, just whether it be other athletes from here or me getting involved with their families. And it's like no place else. Like that, like doing that alone has made this place feel like home for me. And I'm more than grateful for that.
Oh, yeah. Awesome.
Like, but I feel like, yeah.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
I was just going to say, like, you'll never find another place that has a community so invested in, like, our athletics and just so supportive of everything you do. Like, I'm very grateful for that.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. Now, on that, which one of your coaches yells the most?
Mark.
Okay, that was quick.
Mark Fournier. Mark Fournier. I love him to death, but definitely him.
What is head coach Michelle Nagamine, like, what is a line or a phrase that she is consistent with? Like, if you said, can you impersonate Coach Bud? What is the thing she always says or the manner upon which she says it? Anything like that?
It's funny you say that because we talk about this all the time. And she always says, we can do hard things. And she'll always have us fill in the blank. So we'll be in a huddle and she'll be like, Fabi, because Fabi Zamora, she's one of the girls who always says the quote. She'll write it on the board before every game. And she'll be like, Fabi, what can we do? And she's like, hard things. And I feel like that's just a motto she lives by. And, I like it. It just kind of keeps us motivated.
All right. Now, you guys got a game coming up this Sunday. Give us kind of a strategy or kind of a summary of kind of what that matchup's going to look like.
Yeah, so last year we were able to win against Bakersfield. That's who we have this weekend. But this year they're doing very well. So right now I think they're ranked one above us in conference play. I think they have 3 wins, which is very like all power to them because they had a rough year last year, but they turned it on this year. So I think it's going to be a pretty even matchup. They're a young team, super gritty, but I think that they kind of match our work rate in a sense that we're very similar teams. So I think it's going to be a good matchup. I'm super excited for it. I mean, interested to see how they have changed the way they go about things this year. We haven't done our scouting report on them just yet, so we'll see. We'll see.
If you could, since you mentioned this is going to be the final thing here, since you mentioned you like to get into videography, photography, so let's say if you could produce your own highlight,
Okay.
what would Krista Peterson, what would that highlight be? Like, what is the ideal shot or the ideal play that's your strength, either kicking it from the right or something, or a header in? What would be the Krista Peterson highlight?
You know, it's so funny because I feel like I would take the route of a funny highlight, and it would be my bloopers of me falling, because I feel like I'm very clumsy, and sometimes I'll get a fast breakaway and I'll just fall on top of the ball. Like, there was one of the games we had, and I'm dribbling full speed. I fall on the ball and it rolls under me, yet somehow I popped up super quickly, kept the ball at my feet, and then like was able to distribute it. And my teammates make fun of me for it all the time. They're like, we don't know how you get up so fast, like when you fall. And I'm like, I just have to save myself the embarrassment. I'm like, if I get up quick enough, maybe you didn't notice I fell or something like that.
Well, the way you described it, it sounds like that's a pretty cool trick that, you can
It's
boom
so
up and still have the
unintentional.
ball like going. It'd be like, whoa, like a blink of an eye. Like,
Exactly. You know that someone didn't foul me if I get up right away, because
okay.
that's like me trying to save myself from embarrassment.
Oh,
Just keep that in mind during the next game.
I lied. This is the last question.
Okay.
Okay. Are guys just the big thing, right? People make fun about soccer, especially with the men's game, is that they'll flop and they'll cry if you just
Yeah.
if you sneeze too hard at them, they'll drop and they're like,
Uh-huh.
oh. I haven't seen any of that in your guys' games at all. Like, nobody flops. I mean, so is that safe to say the guys just tend to be more crybabies in that regard?
You know, certain players that I've seen, definitely. Like Neymar Jr., great player, but he is king of floppers. But with girls, I feel like they're just so cutthroat on the field that I feel like they just don't want to fall because it hurts. I don't know. So we just do everything in our power not to.
Yeah.
It just depends. I'm not gonna lie, I flop every now and then, try to get a little foul. If I get too tired or they're fouling me, or I think they are, I'll jump on the ground a little bit just to give my teammates a break or something like that. I'm not gonna lie.
Hey, it's part of the game, right? That's part of the
Part of the
strategy.
game.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, Krista, first of all, thank you so much for being a part of Fan Friday Talk Story. Continued success and good luck this weekend as we follow you and the team the rest of this season. Hopefully we see the Wahine into the Big West Conference tournament at the end of the season. And I'll be looking forward to seeing you at the next game.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And thank you so much for having me on.
You got it. Thank you.